Flexing their bodies and tail back and forth to propel themselves through the water, the white sturgeon in these tanks are helping researchers learn more about these ancient fish that live along the west coast of North America.
It's the largest freshwater fish in North America. It's one of the longest lived, and it used to be a lot more prolific than it is right now.
VIU's International Center for Sturgeon Studies has been working with the white sturgeon since 1984, conducting field and laboratory research projects, as well as teaching students and the public about these interesting fish.
Sturgeon are one of the oldest fish out there. They're extremely tough, and so when you give them a challenge that they don't do well to, it's something really that should be a red flag, because if they're not doing well, there's lots of other fish species that might not do as well.
The white sturgeon is found in 3 major drainages from California to BC. It's believed in BC, the only spawning populations of white sturgeon occur in 3 rivers, the Fraser, Columbia, and Kootenay.
The interesting part about it is prior to 1998, no one thought sturgeon were here.
A 2-meter-long white sturgeon that died and washed up on the shores of Departure Bay in the summer of 2014 has researchers asking, are there populations of this ancient breed of fish living around Vancouver Island?
It was a great opportunity for us to get samples. We always take the fins, the pectoral fins, so we can identify it, its age, and we also take samples for DNA purposes.
The opportunity provided by finding a fish in an unusual location such as on Vancouver Island is to look at the genetics and decide, okay, do we know where this fish came from? And if we don't, where could it potentially have come from? And the genetics give us a lot of information about that.
A few white sturgeon have been found over the years on the island, from Campbell River to Nitnat River on the west coast. However, the Center for Sturgeon Studies does not have adequate funding to cover the cost of DNA testing or further research projects to see where these fish have come from.
Well, there's various features, genetic features that seem to say that this is a Fraser fish or that this is a Columbia fish. And some of the samples that we've sent from the island here didn't match those patterns genetically. And so they're wondering if maybe they are somewhat different somehow. Maybe it's a different population.
Samples aren't the only thing we want. We also want information about where they go. So one of the opportunities now is they have the technology to put a tag on these fish, and we can attach the tag and we can let them travel for months, and then the tag pops off and floats to the surface, and we can recover all that information. That is as good an information source as any genetics we can do. But again, those tags are a couple of $1,000s each, so we just need the funding to go ahead on that.
Researchers Gord and Daniel hope to collaborate with commercial fishermen, First Nations, and the public to answer those questions. And they say if you see a dead sturgeon on a beach somewhere, most people have a cell phone with a camera. Take a picture of the top of it, the side of it, and the belly, and maybe even take some samples.
If it's dead, you know, the pectoral fins, which are the ones just behind the head, cut those off and freeze them if possible. I mean, that would be the best of all worlds.
The best situation would be to call the Center for Sturgeon Studies if you see one, either dead or alive. In Nanaimo, I'm Annette Lucas.